Stop it. Look at me. Ma'am! He keeps tiring. Ma'am, I told you once before. Let me please help you understand.
Because I can.
Well,
because I can. It's not a crime to smell.
It's not a crime.
Continue what you were saying.
But it doesn't help you, all right, to irritate people.
All right.
And you have a lot at stake in this case.
It's not a crime to smell, is it?
I didn't say you were clear.
Okay.
I'm saying you're not helping yourself.
Continue what you were saying.
I'm
allowed to smell.
I would suggest you do what helps you, not what hurts you.
Okay. That's what I want to do.
Well,
let's
do what you want to do. That's fine.
Let's get that understood.
Stop it.
You may have seen this video going viral across social network recently. Just some of the most cold, careless, unbelievable footage I've ever seen. Like in a court of law, a convicted killer at this time, believe he still was fighting the case, was not convicted, but he now is. You can see him here just antagonizing, playing with, just violating this family more than he already had, the heinous, horrible things he did to members of their family. And I was shocked by the judge's reaction. This dude's blowing kisses and smiling and just poking at this family who's been brutalized. And the judge is yelling at the lady. I mean, I get it. You're not supposed to act out like that in court, but the fact that he treated the victim's mother like that and then sat there and talked with this guy, as the guy proceeded to basically tell the judge to go F himself. I do what I want. Let's get this understood. Smiling is not a crime. I couldn't believe it. I've seen judges throw people in jail for contempt of court or have them removed out the courtroom for far less. And I know maybe some people will say, well, look at the crimes that he's facing already. Like, what's that going to make a difference? It's just still the point that this is a court of law. And he's just verbally attacking people, including the judge. It's absolutely bizarre to watch. But it turns out that this was just one incident in a courtroom of many that played out over almost a decade, as he has now been hit with life in prison. But this was far from it. There was much more to this story.
The killer who stabbed two teenage brothers to death and then burned and dumped their bodies in a Louisville alley will spend the rest of his life in prison. WDRB's Christy Batista on the punishment for Brice Rhodes today. Now 8 years in the making. Christy?
Yeah, Gil, it was pretty cut and dry in the courtroom today. The sentencing for Brice Rhodes only taking about 20 minutes to come down. Two family members of victims talked about how difficult the past nearly 8 years have been without their loved ones. Judge Julie Kalin saying this is one of the most tragic cases she's ever handled. Rhodes has been unpredictable, even in front of a judge, having a history of outbursts, threatening at least one judge, lashing out at several of his attorneys, and calling several court officials racist. At the beginning of trial, Judge Kalin said she would remove him or an ankle monitor would shock him if any of that happened. It didn't. Rhodes was convicted of killing Christopher Jones, believing he was someone else who had a bounty out for his death. Then just a few weeks later, he brutally tortured and killed teen brothers Maurice Gordon and Larry Ordway, dumped their bodies, and set them on fire. Chastity Stoner is the mother of Christopher's son. She says despite how hard this has been, she's focusing on what Rhodes didn't take from her son.
And what he didn't cause is for my son to lose his mind. He didn't cause my son to have to be on medicine for anxiety. He didn't cause my son to drop out of high school, because statistically, a lot of kids without their dads in their life don't do those things. He caused my son to be a 4.0 GPA student, to get an offer from the University of Louisville football team.
I said it was cool. Now, both families say they are happy about the outcome today and that Rhodes will spend the rest of his life in prison. The defense says they will file an appeal. Rhodes didn't say anything during the hearing and walked out of the room quietly.
All right, Christy Batista, thank you for your reporting today.
All right, so you guys hear that all. Brice Rhodes has played out over 8 years as he had a bunch of outbursts in the courtroom. You've seen him spitting on people coming out of the courtroom, arguing with the judge, his attorneys, firing attorneys. And to me, it almost seems like this was just a plan of his to play this out for as long as he could. I mean, you're locked up. As you heard, he's sentenced to life in prison. But hey, let's get out there. Let's get in the court. Let's get out of the jail as much as we can in the meantime. And, you could tell in his sick, twisted, demented mind of a sociopathic killer that we're looking at here, this was fun to him. So the more he could stall the court process by doing all this stuff and, stalling out the process by having to get new attorneys and competency hearings and things like that, it kept things going. And he was having fun in his own sick and twisted way. Now, as you heard, he was given life, right? And was found competent to stand trial. But based on all of his behavior and the fact that they were able to, prove that he suffered from mental illness, which based on, some of his behavior, that doesn't seem like a stretch at all. They were actually able to get the death penalty off the table based on that. So through all this plan that he had, he also kept himself alive. I mean, he's still doing life in prison, but, some can argue whether a killer would want to be put to death or live out life in prison. I mean, no question to me, this dude is a sociopath and a sick creep, but I'm sure he'd rather live behind bars and be put to death. Some of the most cold, careless killers, when it came time for their execution after all appeals and stuff like that was exhausted, they cried like a baby and pled and everything, to be kept alive rather than be put to death. That's like a debate that people often try to understand, if putting someone to death, and that's a complex discussion as well. As a lot of people don't believe in the death penalty. You can comment your thoughts about all that below, but basically what I'm getting at is this guy got himself a lot of attention that he was craving. He hurt and harassed and tormented families after the fact, which he wanted to do and seemed to have fun doing, and got his whole story told more through all this, while playing all these games in court and disrespecting everyone. It's a pretty twisted story, the story of Brice Rhodes that you guys are hearing here. I just wanted to tap into this after seeing the viral footage of him tormenting his family and arguing with the judge. It's been going back across the timeline. That footage was actually a bit older, I believe, as he was sentenced just last month. That footage, you saw him in court being sentenced, and he didn't have hair anymore. He had shaved his head or whatever. So I believe that footage was a lot older. But be careful, y'all. There's dangerous individuals out there in the streets. Some people get into some trouble, are acting out or reform their lives or just go down the wrong path or whatever. But evil like this is just on a whole nother level. I mean, I don't doubt one bit the kind of crimes that this guy committed and the way that he acted. It almost feels like this is what he wanted, and he saw his life going no other way. I mean, you could see news analysts after news analysts and victims and just everyone saying that this guy is just pure evil. And I concur that is exactly what all this is. And, here he is, locked behind bars for life, but got to play out his twisted, sick plan and have his fun for 8 years, damn near 10 years. And then he got his attorney. And like I said, also got them to take the death penalty off of the table with all these sick games he was playing. And then you got the attorney talking about showing empathy and stuff like that. I mean, I know people are supposed to forgive and all that, and that's what separates good from pure evil, like this cat that we're talking about. But some people I really feel don't deserve to be forgiven. And in this case, I don't think this motherfucker wants to be forgiven at all. His attorney is just on some bull-ish talking about empathy and emotion and all that, like, fuck out of here. But there you have it, man, the story of Brice Rhodes. Jump in the comment and let me know your thoughts. And let me know if you've seen other instances where killers tormented people by using the core process the way this individual did. Let's talk about it all. Subscribe and stay tuned for more. I'm out of here. Peace.